Hello, we are back to reading the Dhammapada. Last time we read chapter 1, Contrary Ways. Now we will read chapter 2, possibly chapter 3 as well. We'll see how long that takes. But chapter 2 is Watchfulness. I say chapter, but they're very small. Chapter's not the right word. Section, I guess, maybe. This is Watchfulness. Watchfulness is the path of immortality. Unwatchfulness is the path of death. Those who are watchful never die, and those who do not watch are already as dead. Those who with a clear mind have seen this truth, those who are wise and ever watchful, they feel the great joy of watchfulness, the joy of the path of the great. And those who in high thought and in deep contemplation, with ever-living power, advance on the path, they in the end reach Nirvana, the peace, supreme and infinite joy. Those who arise in faith, who ever remember their high purpose, whose work is pure and who carefully considers their work, who in self-possession lives the life of perfection, and whoever forever is watchful, then they shall arise in glory. By arising in faith and watchfulness, by self-possession and self-harmony, the wise makes an island for their soul which many waters cannot overflow. Those who are foolish and ignorant are careless and never watchful. But those who live in watchfulness consider it their greatest treasure. Never surrender to carelessness. Never sink into weak pleasures and lust. Those who are watchful in deep contemplation reach in the end the joy supreme. The wise who by watchfulness conquer thoughtlessness is as one who free from sorrows ascends the palace of wisdom, and from there, from its high terrace, sees those in sorrow below, even as a wise, strong man on the holy mountain might behold the many unwise far down below on the plain. Watchful amongst the unwatchful, awake amongst those who sleep. The wise, like a swift horse, run their race, outrunning those who are slow. It was by watchfulness that Indra became the chief of the gods, and thus the gods praise the watchful and the thoughtlessness, and thoughtlessness is ever despised. Interchangeable word is mindful. You will hear the word mindful a lot in today's modern speak of Buddhism. Watchful, mindful, thoughtfulness, it's all the same strain of being aware of ourselves and the present moment. And the experience of life that is unfolding right in front of our eyes at every moment. That we've fallen into the cycle of turning away from, of deceiving ourselves from seeing that true reality. And being aware, being watchful, is to see that reality in its fullness. I'll read that last line again. It was by watchfulness that Indra became the chief of the gods, and thus the gods praise the watchful, and thoughtlessness is ever despised. Indra is a god where I remember there is something about Indra where there's some representation of Indra with a web, Indra's web, upon which you can imagine a spider web, and at every connecting point there's a dewdrop of water, and in that reflection of every single dewdrop is the reflection of every other dewdrop that's on the web. And that's like the world. The world are these interconnected things, these interconnected beings, or in Buddhism, the dharmas. Interconnected dharmas are what exists. We are all interconnected in that way. If you look into one of the dewdrops, there is the reflection of every other dewdrop within the web. So let's continue. The monk who has the joy of watchfulness and who looks with fear on thoughtlessness goes on their path like a fire burning all obstacles, both great and small. The monk who has the joy of watchfulness and who looks with fear on thoughtlessness, he can never be deprived of their victory and is near Nirvana. Nirvana is to put it very simply, I said in the video yesterday from Back from the Forest, I was talking about the idea that there is no refuge in this world. There is no escape from pain. Nirvana is a state in which we've transcended our fear of pain and in which we can live in the world or through the world, but not of the world, in that we're not attached to trying to escape this world because we know that this world is a temporary experience that we pass through and that nothing is temporary. Nirvana is that state where we have accepted completely that there is no refuge, and that becomes our way of living in every moment. That's what we work towards, Nirvana. That's the end of this section on watchfulness. The next section is the mind. I'm just going to keep reading because we're only 7 minutes in. We'll read the mind as well. The mind is wavering and restless, difficult to guard and restrain. Let the wise straighten their mind, as a maker of arrows straightens their arrows. Like a fish which is thrown on dry land, taken from their home in the water, the mind strives and struggles to get free from the power of death. The mind is fickle and flighty. It flies after fancies wherever it likes. It is difficult indeed to restrain, but it is a great good to control the mind. A mind self-controlled is a source of great joy. Invisible and subtle is the mind, and it flies after fancies wherever it likes. But let the wise guard well their mind, for a mind well guarded is a source of great joy. Hidden in the mysteries of consciousness, the mind, incorporeal, flies alone, far away. Incorporeal, again, meaning without a physical form. Invisible. Those who set their mind in harmony become free from the bonds of death. Those whose mind is unsteady, who knows not the path of truth, whose faith and peace are ever wavering, they shall never reach the fullness of wisdom. But those whose mind is in calm self-control, is free from the lust of desires, who has risen above good and evil, they are awake and have no fear. Considering that this body is frail, like a jar, make your mind strong like a fortress, and fight the great fight against Mara, all evil temptations. Mara is the deistic representation of all evil temptations. Mara and Indra are both deistic kind of symbolic representations within Buddhism and Hinduism, but we don't need to know these deities in other than that they are conceptual forms of these things: temptation, watchfulness, etc. So to fight the great fight against Mara is to fight the fight against our own evil temptations of our mind. After victory, guard well your conquests, and forever keep watch. For before long, how sad, this body will lie lifeless on the earth, cast aside like a useless log. Yeah. That's relevant, but I'll speak to you on that later. An enemy can hurt an enemy, and a man who hates can harm another man. But one whose own mind, if wrongly directed, can do a far greater harm than any enemy. Our own mind is that which harms us and has the most evil intent towards us than anything else. We will do the most harm to ourselves, and we can provide ourselves with the most direction and awareness to transform. I'm going to read that last one again because I really like that. An enemy can hurt an enemy, and a man who hates can harm another man. But one's own mind, if wrongly directed, can do a far greater harm than any enemy. A father or a mother or a relative can indeed do good to one, but one's own right-directed mind can do to oneself a far greater good. Our minds are that which does the greatest evil and the greatest good for ourselves. So to be watchful and aware of our mind, the mind, that's key. That is to have reins over ourselves, is to be aware and watchful and in control of our mind, the mind. That's the end of the chapter, this short section on the mind. So we've read Watchfulness and the Mind within this. That's 12 minutes. We'll leave it there, and then next time we'll read The Flowers of Life. Very apt to As a Human Thinketh. I need to put that in a playlist still. Anyway, I love you guys so much. We've just read the second and third chapters of the Dhammapada. We'll read some more in a couple days. I love you so much. See you soon.